6 minutes, Ms Maguire.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The most recent poverty statistics are not acceptable. We are a wealthy nation with all the resources required to ensure an equal and fair childhood for all. One child having their health, development and well-being impacted by poverty is one too many. That 1 in 4 children in Scotland finds themselves in a situation where their future life chances are being impacted is something at the forefront of my mind as I make my remarks and support calls for bold action. The Conservative member might think it's pessimism. It's more empathy, I feel. Bold action is needed from all spheres of government to eradicate poverty and inequality in our society. There's pressure being placed on all household finances due to rising inflation, high energy bills and soaring increases to food costs. Families who were previously managing are finding themselves increasingly struggling. However, we also know that this cost of living crisis disproportionately impacts households on low incomes and is likely to exacerbate those unacceptably high levels of child poverty if we don't come together and take further bold action. I do want to begin by acknowledging the significant action that the Scottish Government has already taken to tackle the cost of living and child poverty. Bob Doris was correct to get us to imagine what things would be like if there wasn't the child payment, for example. Those actions, including the First Minister's pledge to triple the Fuel Insecurity Fund to support anyone at risk of self-disconnection or self-rationing their energy use, expanding and increasing the value of the Scottish Child Payment and introducing new family benefits. The 5 family payments, including the Scottish Child Payment, could be worth around £10,000 by the time an eligible child turns 6, compared to around £1,800 for eligible families in England and Wales, and over £20,000 by the time an eligible child is 16. And of course, the provision of funded early learning and childcare and offering free, good quality meals to all pupils in P1 to P5. These things make a real difference and have been welcomed by anti-poverty campaigners. Speaking about the Scottish Government's budget, Satwat Rehman, One Parent Family Scotland, said, "We're heartened to see the Scottish Government has listened to several important calls from anti-poverty organisations, such as increasing taxes for the wealthiest to raise funds for public services. We are also pleased that the Government is raising benefits in line with inflation, which is the right thing to do and will make a real difference for low-income families who are being snowed under by rising costs." Peter Kelly from the Poverty Alliance stated, "The principles that are embedded into the social security system in Scotland, I think, is particularly important. The principle around making a contribution to reducing poverty in particular, I think, is an important principle." Undoubtedly, the progress the Scottish Government has made is being hindered by the devastating impact of the UK Government's decade of austerity and welfare cuts. The UK Government has full economic and fiscal powers that it could use to make a real difference to the lives of so many. For example, they could make use of borrowing, provide more benefits and support to households, introduce a taxation of windfall profits and regulate the energy market. The latest UK budget was a huge missed opportunity to help people. The reality is that the UK Government could have done far more to ease the burden on so many of our citizens, but it's chosen not to act. The starkest example of the bind that we find ourselves in with the current constitutional setup is that while the Scottish Government is increasing and expanding the Scottish Child Payment, the UK Government decided to cut universal credit. The UK Tory Government have also brought us the frankly illogical 2-child limit and its accompanying repugnant rape clause, the benefit cap, the 5 weeks wait, sanctions and over a decade of austerity. The Scottish Government will spend up to £84 million in 23-24 on discretionary housing payments to mitigate the bedroom tax, benefit cap and the ongoing freeze to the local housing allowance. This is estimated to help over 4,000 families and around 14,000 children to meet their housing costs. Even those who don't believe in Scottish independence surely must occasionally wonder what we could do if we didn't have to invest so much protecting Scottish people from cruel UK Government policies. I'll take an intervention.
I thank the member for taking this intervention. I wondered, the recent Audit Scotland report, which states that the Scottish Government has not has not demonstrated a clear shift towards preventing child poverty, what her assessment of that report was.
Ruth Maguire.
I find it astounding to be asked that question when I've just let you know how much money is being spent on mitigating Tory policies. Now, that's not that. I'm astounded. I don't understand that. And here's something that may be of interest. Reversing those welfare reforms would put £780 million into the pocket of Scottish households and lift 70,000 people, including 30,000 children, out of poverty in 23-24. Now, I mentioned that all spheres of government need to act in the face of this cost crisis, so I also want to add my voice to those of anti-poverty campaigners calling on the Scottish Government to go even further with the game-changing child payment and ask for an increase to £40 a week as soon as possible. With research from Save the Children, the Trussell Trust and the IPPR showing that this could lift 30,000 children out of poverty, this action would help the Parliament meet our 2030 child poverty targets. And while we're working to do that, let's not forget that those targets are about improving the life chances of individual children across Scotland, children who deserve an equal and fair childhood. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Ms Maguire.